Hi, everybody. Roger Hance again with The Ambitious Broker, and welcome to today's episode. We've been doing a series called Industry Series, which will bring in people who have started companies and have been big icons in the industry with doing things. Today's guest, a special guest, Scott Gibson, who has been the founder of two different real estate companies. He's been president of Coldwell Banker and has sold two companies and is now an executive with Compass Real Estate. I think you're going to find him very enlightening. His history, his perspective over all the various roles he's played in the industry is quite dramatic, and plus he's a fun guy. So I hope you enjoy it. Sit back, listen, give me your comments. Take care. Welcome everyone to another episode of Ambitious Broker. I'm here today with Scott Gibson. And Scott, I'll be upfront, I've known Scott for a while. I've watched some of the things he's done, but actually, honestly, Scott, I've told you this, but a pretty amazing background. This guy started a company, sold it, became president of CB, was it? What was your role? Local.
Hard to keep track of all the
titles. Okay.
Yeah.
And then retired from that, came back, started another company.
Yep.
Built that, sold that to Compass. Now you're the managing director with Compass.
Correct.
West Side.
Yeah, I'm running what I sold them.
Yeah.
Really is what I'm still running those four offices.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be 6. I've closed 2 now.
Right. But I think what's interesting to me and what I've always liked in talking to you, and I'm serious about this. Now, we've been laughing a lot off camera, but I'm serious. I'm going to try to be serious about this.
You mean the other stuff isn't recorded?
Even though you were late, very late today. I'm going to forgive you for that. Anyway, the perspective that you get from being engaged in such different categories of doing business. You were a sole owner. I think you had one office, your first office?
Yeah, I had purchased a company that had been in existence for 40 years and actually had 3 offices in Westchester.
Right.
2 of which I closed immediately and rolled it into one office.
Into one office, okay.
Yeah.
So you had an office, and then that's one type of method of managing. That perspective, that single office, the relationship you have with agents. My guess is, what was the year that you had done that?
That was in 84 that I purchased that company.
So you had probably 40 agents or something.
I actually had a few more than that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That company had been a long time, and it had a 70% market share.
Oh, wow.
Market.
Okay.
So pretty dominant. Probably had more like 60 to 70.
Okay. But generally speaking, in those days, the early 80s, we were just rolling into larger offices.
Right.
Prior to that, everything was 15 people, 20 people, or something like that. And then, by the time you started getting into late 70s, you started seeing some, the offices get larger. And I don't know about you, but I know that, my first office had 22 people. We were large. And when I jumped into my next office, we had 50 people, 45 people. And it was a whole different administrative process. The whole system changed. The way you relate to people, how much time you had with each individual changed, but you had that experience, is my point. And then you end up in New Jersey with the Coldwell Banker, the Realogy Group, and the Coldwell Banker, I think specifically, right?
Well, it was Sendant, and then became Realogy.
Okay, Sendant, right.
Before that, it was HFS.
Right.
It became Sendant, that then became Realogy, that's now Anywhere.
Right. Yeah, not many people know that they were owned by Sears at one time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's HFS, yeah.
Yeah, HFS.
Yeah, I think the challenge when in growth, in any company, is how do you maintain that culture? When you have 20 people in office, it's pretty easy to create a culture and firm it up. But you get to 50 to 100 I have one office that's 160 agents now. Especially in our business as independent contractors, I think there's a real importance to culture, and people want to feel like they belong to a place. They feel like they're an important part of that, and that culture is a key part.
Right.
Key part of that.
Well, you were involved with the corporate-owned side of the Coldwell Banker world, right? Not the franchise side.
No, NRT.
NRT.
Yeah, that was the company-owned section, and actually back east I had ERA brand, I had Corcoran, I had Coldwell Banker. So I had about had 8 operating companies under different brands
Got
that we
it.
owned, that were company owned. They
Okay.
weren't franchises.
Right. That was all the
Yeah.
corporate operated, owned version that nobody wants to do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, these days, it's a hard business.
Yeah. But anyway, the point was you go from your office and then you kind of work through the process and you get to be head of all those things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And your job's totally different now. It's totally different. Your ability to influence a salesperson on a day-to-day basis is history.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult that way. Only because, well, one of the main reasons is because people don't come into the office as much as they used to.
Right.
So you don't have that one-on-one, in-person contact with them that creates that opportunity to maybe be more influential.
But when you were in New Jersey, at that point in time, all of your management was being done through managers, right? Or
presidents.
Or presidents, the regional presidents and stuff.
Yeah, the presidents of those companies. Well, what I would say
Did
to
you
you
even
is...
remember what a salesperson looked like at that point? Because you were...
Yeah, but I still knew this, the key salespeople, and I think that what got me back east originally was I had actually started... When I sold my company the first time was Prudential. I sold it to Prudential. And I became a manager then, running those 2 offices that I'd sold them at that time. And I think, but my culture was always very strong, very difficult to recruit against me. I should knock on wood on that. And I think then from there I they merged with a company called John Douglas Company. And then they were looking for a regional. I submitted a business plan to them. But again, I think that once I took that regional position, that's when I really stepped away from as much day-to-day from agents. But my managers, they really have to be able to carry the culture.
Right.
And so the company has to really express that culture, I think, from top down.
Right.
It shouldn't come from the bottom up. And I think that that's important. And I think that that's, as long as you stay empathetic in the business, no matter where you go, I think you can continue to motivate people and create that culture.
Right. That was very difficult for me. When I got into multiple offices, we got up to a dozen offices, and I honestly, I don't think I was ever as good at 12 as I was with 1, just in terms of being influential.
Yeah. Individual, hard to do it on your own, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, I think maybe just the skill set. Maybe I wasn't as good with managing managers as I could have been, and I didn't got maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. I just found that it was difficult. So, but getting back to my original point, you've had that experience. You've had both experiences. You've had to manage through managers. You've had to manage remotely. You've had to manage via different brands. And
I did start off as a salesperson.
And you started selling, yeah. Right. So you have that experience too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
I never forgot it.
You never forgot it.
I don't forget being a waiter.
Yeah.
In college.
Right.
I mean, those are the things that you have to remember what that was like.
I was the #1 income producer for Forrest Olson in Southern California, Coldwell Banker at that time. And when I rolled in my company, my sales reputation, let's say, or my sales experience was huge in terms of me influencing the way other people approach the business. When I stopped selling, it's like I just forgot everything. I mean, people had the perception that I didn't understand selling anymore.
Huh.
Right?
Well, I can't imagine, because you're so articulate and you're easy to follow and certainly have high energy. I can't imagine how they would think that about you.
It's just the nature, I think, of people in general. When they see you knocking on doors or they see you putting listings on the board, there's just a sense that you know more about it, I think.
At that time, as opposed to when you stop.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe I just never had that kind of sales success, so nobody ever thought of me that way.
No, I don't think that's the case. So anyway, so when I started this series with bringing people, people with your experience level in from management, ownership experience, it was really about a conversation I had with a guy one time who says, I've been doing this, highly successful guy in the business, owner and stuff. And he goes, 45 years in the business, and now everyone thinks I'm stupid, And he says, the smart people listen, and the ones who aren't so smart, they think I'm old.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that was an interesting perspective, and I think there's some truth to it, So my whole thing is I go, well, I'm going to bring some people with experience in here that are, I won't say the word old, because I'm older than you are, I think. So, so we're experienced, and you've experienced not just a thing, not just selling, but you've experienced a lot of different parts of the industry. As an example, you were recently, I think, named Realtor of the Year or something, weren't you?
Sometime back.
Sometime back?
It's been years.
Years?
Yeah.
Okay, years. Okay, well.
I always gauge everything by the pandemic, so it was before the pandemic.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Well, the point is you spent time in the Realtor organization.
Yeah.
And so you're aware of that piece of it too, and it's a whole different animal than being part of these companies. I see. Then we've talked about multi-office companies, and then the franchising world's a whole different story still. And they approach things differently. So there's a lot to know in real estate. And I think these real estate agents coming in today, it wouldn't hurt them to know a little bit of history, and so and tap into these brains a little bit. And that's why I appreciate you being here.
Well, it's my pleasure.
I'm going to tap in your brain.
Good luck if you find anything there.
Yeah. So tell me, what is the difference when you had your first company, and when you approach an office today in terms of managing your sales environment?
I would say that the first group of people that I took on when I bought that company were much less sophisticated business-wise, more very very community oriented. Every one of them,
right,
lived in the community, didn't really sell outside the community. People didn't, in general, go outside of where their office area was. They joined an office in an area because that was their area, and they probably lived there.
Right.
And I'd say it was more friendly in a lot of ways. The brokerage community itself was much more together as far as getting together with each other.
Yes.
Communication, heads of office, that type of thing. Today, at least in our world here, you really rarely ever see that happen again.
I've fought regional MLS forever when I was president of the board and prior to that. And one of the reasons I've used for fighting the regional MLS is because I go back to that expansion of the MLS as the beginning of what you're talking about. As example, I would, when I owned one office, you would agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do.
When I had one office, the salespeople in my office would be doing sales every single month with the real estate offices that were local. And as a result of that, you had a little bit more of, I'm going to see them again.
Right.
I'm going to need them again.
More camaraderie, that's
more
for sure.
camaraderie.
Yeah.
And more professionalism, I think. They respected, seemed to be taught rules more. The etiquette, so forth seemed to be better, spread. Now, as the MLS is spread out, so, CRMLS, which is the local one here, they're a third of California, I think now.
Yeah, my group is predominantly CLAW.
Oh, you're CLAW, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, they share data, and as a result of that, your people in Brentwood can go to San Diego and sell something, and vice versa.
And they do. Which when I first started the business, nobody didn't even think of that. In fact, you weren't even allowed to. When I was at Fred Sands and managed there before I bought that company,
right?
You weren't allowed to sell more than one office away.
Right. Good or bad?
You couldn't possibly know the area.
Good or bad policy?
I think at the time it ensured that at least the customer was getting somebody that knew the area.
Right.
And if an agent didn't really know the area, and there's so many subtle nuances, that I think it was a good policy. I think that just kind of evolved. It just melted away as technology became and information became more readily available to people.
Yeah, yeah. We saw our agents, that would start going 60 miles, 70 miles, 100 miles away to do business. It hurt me as an owner. I love to see them make money, but two things happened. One was you were spending so much time, getting to your transaction.
Here, it's not like you can jump on a commuter train and get someplace quickly.
Right. So it was, I felt like it chewed up productivity.
Yeah.
If you had been more hyper-local.
Well, that's where phones come in. Because I think agents spend a lot of time on their phone while they're in the car. Like, my Brentwood office, last time I checked was some years back, we had, 1 year we closed in 114 different zip codes.
Wow.
One office. So, that group was going anywhere they needed to go to make a deal.
Right.
Right? And it's a productive group, but I think the productivity, the way we look at it has changed because you can be on your phone while you're in the car, and you can do a lot of things now that you couldn't when you had to look at your map book, your Thomas Brothers map book to find the address.
Yeah.
So I think from that standpoint, it's why it's gotten easier for agents to sell in a lot more varied, distant areas.
Yeah.
Although I still don't recommend it, depending as a general practice, because there are nuances in each of those areas that you need to be well versed on.
Absolutely.
In order to represent a client correctly.
One of the examples I used to give about that was when the 08-09 crash came, they came up with the new appraisal rules, and all of a sudden, you might remember we had a couple of years where the appraisers were traveling everywhere, and everybody was complaining that they didn't know what they were talking about. They're from Long Beach, and they're being brought up here, and it's like, well, they're doing 100 appraisals a year, and you're selling 2 houses a year. Why are you so magically gifted that you can do it and they can't? So it was an interesting, but you'd prefer to see it more local if you were a real estate god.
I wouldn't prefer to see it more local. I think that I would prefer that agents really stay within their expertise and make sure that they're doing that, and not take that listing that's 100 miles away or something. Or if they do, they share it with somebody. Right. I think staying within a reasonable circumference of your area that is important for your business and to clients you service. So, and I think that's just much bigger than it used to be, for sure. Right. Brentwood can sell anywhere, and just like Beverly Hills can sell anywhere, and in LA, and they do. It's getting there. To your point. Right.
Do you tell a salesperson something different today? My general opinion is that the business is fundamentally the same as it's always been. I mean, at a real fundamental level, you build relationships with people, you make money. That's what it is. So the way you build relationships, certainly different with tools and so forth today. But do you find yourself approaching your instruction to agents or your advice to agents to be radically different today?
No, I think what I emphasize is personalization is what's going to differentiate you in the marketplace, and that personalization can take different forms, but it can't be just like we used to just advertise a newspaper, a house, right, and maybe do a mailer. Today, you really to really personalize an experience for a client, you have to be able to email, text, FaceTime, and you need to be able to take them out once in a while for a cup of coffee, right, and get in front of them because you need to add that piece into it. Because otherwise, you'll lose that human contact. It's really tough to get personal on a Google Meets call. I mean, really, right? You don't even know what the guy's wearing.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, the thing that if anything, I'll leave that alone.
Yeah. I guess. Who's that politician or that guy locally in the LA City Council?
Yeah. I know when we did a lot of farming. I was a big farmer, and the idea of going and knocking on doors was a way that you got people to have a feeling for who you are as a person. An instinct. This is a guy, he's a good guy, he's not a good guy, or whatever, but being in front of them gave them all their sensory tools to evaluate me. And I thought it was a huge part of doing business, The further you get away from that, all the way down to I just mail something occasionally, and certainly no one has a sense of knowing who you are from a mail piece.
I mean, we were talking about farming earlier. I think farming, depending on how you define it, the old way is really not effective. I mean, it used to be they didn't want you to have more than 500 people in your farm, maybe 250. Today you really need 5,000 or 10,000. So in order to door knock that should be part of your process. It used to be most of the process, that and calling on the phone,
right?
Which calling on the phone isn't all that easy anymore either.
No.
People don't like that too much, and less than they used to. But it's also harder with the do not call lists and et cetera.
Right.
So you really have to farming is a multifaceted approach. And there's different ways to approach that. There's AI that can give you probabilities on people that are likely to move, or there's just different ways to approach that. I think adding that door knocking part to it is important.
Right.
But I also think it can be very restrictive. I mean, in my world where I'm operating now, I have very few farmers. I mean, and the ones I do are very, very successful, but they've been doing it for 25 years, right? So they started back in the old days, so to speak. Most people that are most successful now, especially new coming in, it's really more your sphere of influence and your social farming.
So what do you tell somebody that's brand new today?
They have to meet people.
Meet people.
I mean, and they need to have a good CRM. You've got to have some kind of organization around that,
right?
And many people don't, and or they don't stay on it. So it's got to be a basic part of your plan.
What percentage of agents that you've been exposed to do you think have kind of mastered that tool, that CRM?
A small percentage.
Small percentage.
I would say maybe 15%.
Yeah.
Really. But I can tell you that a large percentage people, at least in where I'm at, use CRM, but not diligently. But the fact that they're even using it is a huge step in the right direction.
Right.
That they know it's there.
Right.
It used to be, oh well, how do you farm, or how do you keep track of your clients? Well, I mail them. I said, you don't do anything else. You don't call them. You don't. No, I just mail them.
Mail them. Right.
I said, well, that's not going to work out. So,
there's not a strategy.
So there's a lot of stimulation out there today, and somehow you've got to stay consistent in staying in front of people. And I think if you just rely on door knocking, you're not going to make it.
And your average sale is in excess of $2 million, probably.
It's not that high right now because at least in my market, the ULA tax significantly impacted the over $5 million market.
Right.
We're probably off 40%, 50%.
In the over $5 million?
Yeah.
That much?
Yeah. It's gotten a little bit better.
Can we say publicly how stupid the people who run LA City are? I mean, we can do that.
Stupid or not, I mean, they're raising a lot of money, and I don't know where that money's going.
Right.
So it's probably more we were stupid that we voted for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hundreds of millions of dollars they're raising.
Yep.
But it's really significantly impacted not just housing, commercial properties. People tend to think it's just a mansion tax. It is not.
It's not.
So it's impacted small business tremendously, and it's creating problems.
Yeah,
for sure. But that being said,
but on average, it's brought your average down.
I think by average is more like $1.8 million now,
$1.8 million
thereabouts.
Median roughly. You sell anything under $1 million on that west side?
My agents do, but not on the west side. There is. Could you get a condo maybe in Westwood? Maybe.
Right.
You probably not.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything's big.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, it all goes with the inflation we had. I mean, we had 10 years of price appreciation in 2 years.
Right.
And our interest rates jacked up significantly since then also. And then you throw in inflation, in general, people's lifestyles have been impacted by that. So I think those three things have been the most impactful on the overall sales market because our numbers are down just like anybody else's.
Right.
Probably much better than other companies just because we have such a significant market share.
Right. Right. So if an agent comes into you brand new today, you say to them, go meet people. But it's more than that. You're saying meet people and then learn how to start. I just think
a new licensee today, it's at least the way I look at it, I think it's way more daunting than it used to be.
Yes.
I think getting into the business is really tough right now for a lot of reasons. I think the pandemic really started that, and open houses, and then the way the new rules have come through with brokerage and representation of buyers and stuff. I think that's also whittled it down.
Right.
It's made open houses less attractive, which is where a lot of new people would maybe get their first clients.
Right. I think the portals have had a huge impact on sign calls, reducing sign calls.
There's no floor time.
No floor time.
That's gone.
Yep.
So as a new licensee, you've kind of right there. You open houses, floor time. If you get a listing, sign calls. I mean, it's a very, it'd be very daunting.
Right.
Depending on the area, and depending on the competition. But here in Los Angeles, there's a lot of competition, and it's much more sophisticated in a lot of ways than it used to be.
Yeah, if you were in the business, you get in the business in, say, the mid-'90s. I wrote the first CRM system, I think you know that, back in the 80s, and early 80s, actually. And by the early 90s, it was kind of more mainstream. There were companies now, PCs had come out. We did ours on a mainframe computer. It was very expensive to do. Yeah. But PCs had come out, and then all of a sudden, you have all these competing programs. So at that point in time, there became this new tool, so to speak, that you could use to help you organize and manage more people. But to your point, like with farming, the same thing through your sphere today. If you have a sphere of 300 people, that might have made you 10 sales a year.
Maybe.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, it's 1,000 now.
Yeah.
It's 1,000.
At least.
Yeah.
And I think CRMs were very complicated when it first came out for agents. And when you want to introduce something new to a sales agent that's been successful, they generally don't want to change what's been working. And when you put them into some new technology or something, you're asking them maybe to change how they've been doing things, and it's very uncomfortable.
Right.
And it's also very risky. Being independent contractors, those are the types of risks that maybe people don't want to take because I need that sale. And
right.
if I do something different here, I might lose that sale now, or I might do something that doesn't work as it did before.
Yeah.
But I think that's been changing just because CRMs have gotten much easier. I think they're more intuitive. I think
that's kind of your signature at Compass, right? I mean, it's really to say, technology is an essential tool for you in real estate now, and we got the simplest, best simple.
It should
the system
be.
that you would most likely use.
Absolutely.
Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, it's a great way. I think that out of all the companies that I've been at, the platform at Compass is very sticky with agents. They use it a lot, and it's a one point of entry, so it's very easy. That way, you can move from tracking your transaction to marketing to, there's just a lot of ease within the system, and it's relatively intuitive.
Yes.
So agents have been able to at least pick part of that and utilize it.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be a serious agent today, and it may be hard to find a guy who wants to be a serious agent today.
It's a tough environment out there.
It is.
It's been a very tough year this year.
Yeah, but that said, if you're going to be, some of the people we've interviewed on this podcast, the Stephanie Vitakos or the Chris Williamses or Neil Weichels, these are just hugely competitive individuals.
Oh yeah.
They don't wear it, and you don't see it, because it's buried inside of their DNA somewhere, and they just, they're fiercely competitive. And I think that, that's the one thing that's hard to teach with people, but you've got to muster some of that up in today's world.
Yeah, and you can't teach competitiveness.
You can't teach.
You either have it or you don't.
Yeah, and so if you can't get around you and say, I can be, if he can do it, I can do it, and then let that drive you to using these new tools. And I think that's the thing that people come in the business say in the last 4, 5, 6, 8 years, and they see people have been around for a long time. Like you said, you see people have been around a long time still succeed in farming, and then they get frustrated. But it's a new way to do the same old thing.
Yeah.
which is
True.
Build that relationship, right?
True.
But use these tools. I mean, you have to come in, I think, and just make an absolute commitment that you'll be the best at using these tools, I think.
Yeah,
or else have a huge checkbook.
It made me think, I had a sales manager once. I brought him in to congratulate him. He came in at number 2. And I had this little thing for him. He says, I don't want any number 2 trophies. I mean, I only play for 1. And I don't even want anybody to know I was number 2. If I wasn't number 1, I don't want anybody to know what I was.
Right.
And one of the things that's that at least in Los Angeles, I don't see it as much as I used to. Some companies still do it, but it used to be you'd put your name up on the board. There was that ability to foster that competitiveness,
Yes.
where you'd be very overt. You put it up on the chalkboard. Scott got a new listing.
Right.
Scott made a sale.
Right.
And then you'd have awards.
Right.
And a lot of awards programs have gone away.
Yep.
Especially with larger companies. So those types of things that kind of foster that competitiveness also. I mean,
Yep.
And some companies feel that awards are a bad thing. I've always felt they're a great thing because I think it rewards people that for their success, and it probably will motivate people that at least the type of people we're talking about, competitive people, to go higher.
When I started, every month the company put out a sheet, and every single person in the company was listed and ranked from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And all through the years of my company, 20-some years, we did it to the end. Every month we put it out, and it doesn't happen. And these people that I've brought in, like I mentioned some of these names to you, every one of them has said to me, I would see someone else write it on the board, and it would just fire me up.
Yeah.
So when you, as an owner, you think, well, why would you stop having people write it on the board? If it was so instrumental in motivating people, why would you think that would change?
It's interesting. It just evolved out, and there were some companies that felt that awards were demeaning to those that didn't get them.
Right.
I mean, and I'm sorry, I just can't really understand that thinking because I think if you're in a sales business, it's a competitive business.
Right.
I mean, you've got to be out there, and even if you're within the same company, a person's going to choose you for who you are and how you exhibit yourself, but you've got to get out there. If you don't meet people, you're not going to make any sales. So I don't. It's so funny because I used to have sales boards even in my last company, and then they just kind of went away because agents stopped writing their deals up, and that could have been either because they didn't want people to know, or that just became less of a thing.
My first office when we first started, probably in our second year roughly. One of the salespeople, a couple of the guys who were salespeople in the office, had been to Fridays, the restaurant, and in Fridays, every time you tip someone at Fridays, they would ring a bell, and the guys went out and bought a bell and put it on the wall next to the board, and it became a big thing culturally within that office that every time someone would take a listing or make a sale, they'd write on the board and they'd bang the bell. Yeah. And everybody in the office would acknowledge it, and it would be fun.
That's when they were in the office.
Well, that's when they were in the office, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and that's another thing, I think that's part of it too, is people really aren't in the offices as much as they used to be. They come, I would say that they come to the sales meetings if they think they're useful.
Right.
My meetings are well attended. They will always come to a cocktail party.
Of course, right.
So my holiday parties were well attended. But other than that, people have a different way of doing business. And a pandemic, a lot of people set up offices at home. They realigned their business and how they do it. And they got comfortable with it.
Yeah, I wish there was a way for agents. Of course, it doesn't impact me today, but for the sake of agents, I wish they would understand the value of contributing to these kinds of cultures, that it helps them too.
I think they do. I get the thing, well, nobody's ever in. I say, well, if you're not in, then no one's ever not in. So you're kind of contributing to that, that atmosphere.
In. Yeah.
But I just downsized my Brentwood office about half. So it's like a size 12 into a size 6. And It's very busy now, and agents are coming in
because they feel some energy.
Because I had a huge office. It was in 2 suites, but to bring the ones that were coming in together, and then the ones that weren't coming in now coming in and seeing the staff is all in one place, everything creates that energy. So yeah. I'm optimistic about that. It's
interesting when we went from my first office where we had 22 people, big at that time,
yeah.
And we went into a new office that had desks for 50 people. And so we came over, and I did what you did. I had opened a second office. We suffered a big fire in a building, so we moved the people, instead of opening a second, we moved everybody into one big one. But we went from 2,500 feet to 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the opposite, where people felt all this energy in a small office
right.
with a lot of people to, whoa, there's a lot of empty space here, and people would actually make comments, I remember, about doesn't feel the same, there's a little bit of difference in energy, and kind of the opposite direction.
Well, and it is an opposite direction, but I also get a lot of people like this year of the agents I recruited, and they were top agents. They didn't ask for a desk, didn't need an office.
Interesting.
I mean, is it age specific? Maybe a little bit, but it spans all age groups pretty much.
Right.
And so I think there's a whole generation of real estate people coming through that they don't think they need an office. They don't think they need a desk. They want to come in, and maybe they need to come in and use the printer.
Right.
Or maybe meet with a staff person or marketing or something like that.
Right.
Or come to a meeting, or maybe meet a client.
You don't need as many desks.
But I don't think so. I think agents are out.
Right. Well, EXP's kind of proven that to a certain degree, I think. I mean, what I find out with that particular group of people is the teams, the people who have teams, and 6, 7, 8 people, they always want an office. And they want a place where their team can come meet, their team can come talk.
So they can
have a team culture.
Yeah.
And so they end up having their own offices, it seems like.
I think the challenge is that not about any one brokerage, but I think the challenge is then how do you create the culture and how do you maintain the professionalism level? So you really have to establish some stronger standards with the people you hire.
Yep.
And there are some models out there, and they're models, and people can make money a lot of different ways. But I think the models where you just hire every agent that walks through the door, I think
I'm sitting here thinking, well,
is a model it's an old model.
Yeah. But the way you're approaching this very delicately, I think, is very, very like you should be mayor kind of a way you're approaching this.
I'm just saying that there's all kinds of different models, and I think that's really a challenge because if I don't see you every day, I think reputation becomes, as hard as it may seem, it becomes even more and more important for an individual agent.
Yep.
And for a company, companies need to ensure that. And I think you've seen some things out there where there's been some changes in general, with some companies that where people have been disassociated or something, big people that for whatever reasons, but maybe they just didn't fit the culture of the company.
Right.
Now, but I think that's important. And I think that a company has to pay more attention to the people they're hiring than they used to, maybe in some ways.
I had breakfast with Joel Singer, who was the COO of CAR forever. Yeah, real bright guy, and did wonders for CAR. My reason for having lunch with him was that I felt that I wanted to discuss with him this idea that because of the competitive nature of the brokers and how, in truth, it's probably devolved the level of professionalism because, I know in the old days, if people weren't somehow producing, they would just, the industry culture would say, well, you shouldn't be in this business, and you go away. That doesn't happen so much. Nobody gets chased from the business anymore. And as a result, you probably do at your company, and I know some companies do.
I do in my office.
Yeah, and I know some do. As a whole, though, they would not leave the industry. They will leave you and go to someplace else, right?
Very true.
So So I've always felt, and what I was appealing to Joel with was, it's time for you as an association to step up and help these brokers draw a stronger line in professionalism and standards and things of that nature. He didn't believe that was their role.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's too bad, because that was an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think more. Mm-hmm. And I think that any kind of anytime I talk to an attorney about an issue with a property or a client or something, or there's always a question about what was the management doing, how were you involved, or what was the conversation you had with your agent. And I think that's when you in this environment, when you have people that don't come into the office,
right,
and they're out doing deals, and if you have a lot of people that you don't know or you're not sure of, it causes lots of problems out there, not just legally, but it also tears down the stature of your company, the imaging of your company.
Right.
So I think the business is becoming more professional.
Do you?
I do feel like it is.
You mean like in the last 2 weeks?
I actually think the change in the buyer representation there in California and other states is going to be a positive. I think that agents, I've seen my group, I think they've stepped up to it. I think they see an opportunity where they can really present themselves to a buyer and then work with a buyer that's committed to them, as committed as they've been in the past, and
right,
want to have the buyer maybe work with somebody else at the last minute or something.
Right.
So I think anytime a client can get better representation and a better understanding of who they're working with in that presentation, I think it's better for the business.
I agree with that. I do.
Yeah.
I think in a unique way, this new buyer commission, and we'll talk a little bit about how much I hate what NAR has done, and you can nod your head and be nice and not agree with me. But I think in spite of all this, this new buyer contract that you are expected to sign now,
the BRBC.
Yeah, I think just the concept of contracting with a buyer, it's a difficult thing to transition. But once you've done that mentally, I think that there's potential to be really good. And I think one of the ways it is that I was talking to some people about this the other day, is that they're trying to make it very clear that you represent a seller and you represent a buyer. And I think it brings some competitive opportunities up to where now you can literally say to someone, in the past you've always had this fiduciary kind of relationship to the other guy. It's hard to make a case for how valuable you can be.
Yeah.
Now you can go to a buyer and you say, hey, listen, I'm really good at negotiating. I'm really good at this, and here's why. And like your attorney, I'm going to go to battle for you. And technically, that was a place you really couldn't be.
No. Well, and you didn't need to be, really, a lot of times, because I think you have to approach a buyer as if you're going on a listing for a house now, and I think that elevates the game considerably. And I think that'll wash out a lot of people. I think there's been a little burst here of business or in certain ways, but I think that it's going to be very hard on those agents that don't adapt.
Right.
To survive. And I think buyer's brokerage became more important in the last 4 years than it had been the previous 40. I think always being a listing agent was always where the top producers had been.
Yeah.
And then that changed from the pandemic, probably because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And buyer's brokerage became much easier. You could just take your buyer out or send them to that place and write the offer. That's going to be. It's different now.
Teams has influenced that too. The idea of having a team.
Yeah.
I mean, the team is basically your first office. I mean, when all is said and done, your first office, you helped lead generate.
Yeah.
They had floor time. They get leads, and so now the companies don't do that.
Farming meetings.
Yeah. Companies doesn't do that anymore, so the teams do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big team guy. I'm probably like in the industry the bad guy in that. I think that I think it's great for the principal typically. I don't know how depending on what the overall supervision is.
The team leader.
Yeah, the team leader. I see a lot of agents gravitating towards that right now because the business is thin, so they're hopeful that they're going to maybe get a lead off of it.
Right.
But I think overall, you end up abdicating your company sometimes to those individual teams that are running things differently than
Right.
you want, and then you also lose control of your culture and overall and your imaging.
You have two types of teams in a way. One is someone who's a highly productive agent who is doing 100 transactions a year. They need help, and they have a team. I'm comfortable with that. That makes a lot of sense. You're good at that.
Yeah.
The guys who are running teams to be offices within offices, I really think's bad for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I do.
That agent that's doing 100 deals a year, they probably would have already taken on, a partner or two or three or something like that at that point. So I understand that natural, but there just aren't that many doing that. But there's a lot of teams out there.
Right.
There's
Right.
a lot of teams for sure.
Yeah, and it's sort of a, you hate to say it, but it's sort of a way to BS the public about kind of your stature or something, maybe,
Well, it's certainly one way to.
Come on, Scott, say it. Say it. You can say it.
It's another way to to show my level of service, to say I have a team.
Right.
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 So it's a competitive thing to do, and I think a lot of agents feel like they have to come across as having a team because maybe some of their main competitors in the area where they see really successful agents have teams.
Right.
So they think, well, maybe that's the holy grail.
Right.
But it's really hard to find people to fit on your team.
Right.
It's just like it's hard to find the right agent to join my office.
Let's talk about business models for a minute.
Okay.
Because, historically, you had a lot of single offices, one owner, 10, 15 agents. That evolved into companies that you work for, whether it be at Fred Sands or John Douglas, these large regional companies. They would have that office times 10 or 15 or 20 or 30. And then the success of those led to franchising, basically.
You'd franchise because you think the name might carry weight in your area.
Right.
Might be a competitive advantage.
Right. And now, I think we've gotten to a point to where this concept that I think, see how you feel about this, but I feel like that nobody is really trying to build that consumer-facing brand anymore. Every brand I see is geared around appealing to an agent.
Yep. You don't see the ads out to the consumers at all. You're
Right.
100% right.
Right.
I find that kind of interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a lost opportunity for a company.
Big time.
I do.
And I'm suspicious that it's hard to have a product that you can sell to a client if you can't have some control over the service or the product that you're selling as it gets distributed.
Well, I just would like to believe that the company, the name has value to the agent with their association.
Right.
And really, it's the agent that's driving the value to the brand,
right?
Instead of the brand driving the value back to the agent.
I think
but it could be go both ways.
To a certain degree, we low inventory's got a little piece of this too. I mean, I remember when I was selling, I would take a listing, and I was a big farmer, so I would maybe take 25 listings in a given farm, let's say, in a year, and the listings would take 4 or 5, 6 months to sell. So I would have lots of signs up in the area.
Uh-huh.
Then they would take no less than 45 days, usually 60 or more days. So you could literally I could have 25 signs up for a year in one area, and now you take a listing that sells in 3 days, it closes escrow in 15 days, and the sign's gone.
And it may never have a sign.
And it may never have a sign.
Because we sell a lot of houses before it come to market now.
Yeah.
And that's been a big change in the business also.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
That off-market sale.
So that public view of any one company, even if you're a dominant market share, is you don't necessarily look dominant.
Yes, because signs were a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just thinking about that, you think about the private sale, it's predominant, I think, everywhere in the country. So we do, a pretty good percentage of our sales and there's never a sign on the property.
Right.
But that's also a lost opportunity for the agent, because now the signs today.
Yeah, sign calls are gone. Your source of buyer, getting a buyer.
Yep.
How would you change it today? You've seen the past, you see the future. What from the past should be brought back?
the business is such a flux right now. I don't know if the sole practitioner or the single office is dead. I haven't really come to that conclusion yet. I think in certain areas that just like an attorney,
Yep.
could still flourish with the right kind of reputation and the right makeup. I think it's very hard to compete as a small company based on maybe the technological resources you might need, but I think you can still compete as a single office in a certain area. And when you start to build up more offices, it becomes more expensive for that operation. So you can't, you're either betwixt or between, you know.
Overhead again?
Yeah, overhead. But I think I'd bring back probably more awards type of thing if I was thinking about an older thing. If I really, I probably would make my offices smaller.
Interesting, yeah.
Then I'd probably go back to the size of that 25-person office you had.
I love that idea, don't you?
And I do.
And and have a good relationship with everybody there.
As long as I could fill it with people that were the right kind of people.
Right.
You know, you might have more those types of offices, even though there's more overhead around that, but you might have those more scattered, especially in LA when drive time is so bad.
Yep.
That you have to create more outposts type of thing, or
right.
more smaller operations so that agents can go place to place. I mean, I think we kind of got to the mega offices, so like in Beverly Hills, I mean, those offices are like 500 or 1,000 people, some of those offices.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, they don't all live in Beverly Hills.
Right.
But I'm sure they'd love to have a place they could go to locally around their house or
right.
to get some help.
$60,000.
So I might look at that type of a model more.
Right.
Yeah. I think the design of the offices, I still think there's privacy needed within the offices. With the new Brentwood office, it's so funny, it was a concept that I had developed an office of future at a company with Arthur Anderson, and we have beautiful phone booths in the office, and the agents are using them. Mm-hmm. So I think that creates more privacy, and so you can have more of an openness. If you need to make a phone call, you can kind of go into the soundproof
right.
phone booth. So it might eliminate the need for private offices much, and that might open up more dialogue between agents.
Right.
Those types of things.
People, do you find that agents are bringing clients into the office?
No.
They just don't do it.
I can't remember the last time I saw a client in there.
Really?
So when you talk about having conference rooms, you know, it's good for training. Occasionally you might have, you might bring a client in there, but it's
right.
more like the teams have their meetings in the conference room.
Right.
So I really rarely see clients in an office.
God, it's almost like you could move these offices into industrial areas where, you know, it costs you $1 a foot instead of $5 a foot. Have some space and
there's a little stature part of that, though. I mean, if you're in an area, you don't want to be like located in a bad area.
Right.
Address, and you're not going to attract agents. I think ultimately, you got to have some balance there with that. I think it's always nice to have a good address. Maybe it's just maybe a smaller version or something.
Do you see? Is there anything that you can see some pending innovation from a technology standpoint that's going to impact, you think, how people do business in the next, say, 5 years?
I think AI is absolutely going to impact it. I think it's going to impact it on the legal side. It could impact it on the managerial side. You know, maybe you just agent will call AI and talk to the AI bot and say, "Hey, I've got this problem. Can you help me out here?" I think that certainly could be something that evolves.
Possibility.
Yeah, I think AI is going to have the most dramatic impact on our business. Mm-hmm. I don't think people are really using it a lot just yet. But I think I could see it in farming. I could see it almost in everything. Marketing. I mean, I used it to rewrite my bio every once in a while just to repost it.
Right.
Very, very nicely done, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe make some changes to it. But I think AI is the biggest pending thing, and we don't even know what that means yet. But it's coming.
Yeah, I'm working with a company in Utah right now that's doing a lot of this, you know, And even the guys that are developing understand the power of it, don't understand how to apply it necessarily. It feels a lot like the internet. You got this internet there, but what the hell are you going to do with it? And as you evolve into it, it'll start to spread its wings a little bit, I suppose.
Well, I think for agents, generally they aren't creative people as far as like marketing, things like that.
Right.
They're not a strength. I think AI affords them an opportunity to become much more creative on their own.
Yep.
Or a company can provide that opportunity through the platform to help them become creative.
It's an opportunity for them to deliver a better service for less money,
right?
Perhaps.
And for them to be able to do it themselves the way they want to do it.
Right.
I do think having staff in an office has become more important with the new technology. I think agents want help, at least right now. And I don't know if I can say we're going through some transition, a generational transition, but I feel like agents still want to talk to somebody right now. So I think right now in the short term, I think if you're in a position to provide staff, and you don't need a receptionist anymore, right? That's a wasted
Long
person.
gone.
Haven't had one of those for years.
Yep.
Just like you went with floor time.
Yep.
Right. So that's that. I think you have to elevate your staff to a higher level of what you're offering, and you could maybe have less staff, but it'd be a much higher level person. You might have to pay them more.
Yeah, I think from the sense I'm getting with the people I talk with is that you're going to get AI is going to step into a lot of the administrative roles, whether it be in title, escrow, mortgage, but at least at this point it feels like an escrow officer or a loan officer or a title. There's going to still be a human at the top of the food chain, and I think as an example, you have a team of people. Like an escrow officer and a couple assistants, and you say, well, how many transactions a month should they be able to transact? And let's say it's, I used to use a rule like 10 per person. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to do 30 transactions a month, then you should have 3 people, right, roughly, right? And so you would always, and you got a narrow window. So if you drop 15, 20%. Now you're down to 25 transactions. You don't need the other person so much. You need half a person now. And, in escrow mortgage, I've always said you always have too many people or not enough people. And I think that what AI you're going to see happen is it's going to take that window of number that you can handle and make it larger. So that, as an example, I can now do 30 transactions, but I can do it with 2 people. Or I can do 40 transactions with 2 people.
You only need one person for that 30 transactions.
Right. Right.
And I think you'd asked about other changes in the business. I think the other change.
And by the way, that isn't just you operate cheaper. I mean that's a whole dynamic change because in how you approach doing business because you're the way you send and retrieve information. You ask for say a loan payoff, and the way it comes back, and the way you process it, all that is going to be very dramatic, and then that becomes foundational to future change.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple things I have to think about. Why your transaction coordination is now every one of my agents uses it on every deal, and they pay for it.
Right.
And that's a big change for the business.
Boy,
right?
It sure is.
But that has to do with the volume of paperwork there is now.
Yep.
And how much more complicated transactions have been. I mean, they used to be, when I was running Coldwell Banker, our average transaction length was like, we had like 100 pages, and we were experimenting with, scanning that and accessing it then and stuff. I can't even tell you what an average transaction is today. It's got to be 200, 300, 400 pages.
Yeah, that's right.
With all the reports and everything else on it. So that's been a huge change in the business, and I think that is an area that could use AI in a lot of ways. A
big way.
And I think
in fact, I called a guy up that's at CAR, and he's always been either a chairperson or part of the committee as an attorney. And I called him up. I know him really, really well, and I called him up after this last revisions came out, and I said, do you think that you could send me an audio book instead of these papers now, because they've just gotten that long?
Right.
I need someone to read it to me because I don't want to read them anymore. He didn't think it was funny, by the way.
It's like nobody uses file cabinets now. When I did this to go back to this Brentwood office, agents don't need file cabinets.
Right.
Or very limited.
Right.
Some place to put a pencil.
Right.
That's about it. They don't keep all the paper files anymore. They're all online.
Yep.
So that's a positive thing, and the company does that as well.
Yeah, I think that's positive.
Are online now.
Or
digitized, I should say.
What do you think the future of the Association of Realtors is? I noticed today in an article I read that a company, where was it at? What's the name of the company now? I think it was in Arizona. Has Realty One Group, I think is what it was. They have made a notice to all their agents that they no longer are going to require their people to be part of NAR, and that they were going to start associating with an MLS now that didn't make those requirements, and so sort of start disassociating. So they have created I assume a DBA of their, so I think it's Realty One Group, I think, and then Realty One Group Arizona, and those who aren't going to be part of NAR are going to be part of the Arizona company, and the others that want to be part of it. So they're going to run two companies under an umbrella, and some apart and some not apart.
So if you want to join the board, but I don't, we're going to be in the same company, but it's going to be some two subsidiaries.
Yes.
And you think NAR is okay with that?
Well, as part of the settlement, the commission settlement, a lot of these companies, like the franchises, have had to take away their demand that their members become NAR members. So I don't know that NAR can say a thing about it by virtue of this latest,
I guess it comes down to whether there's any value of being called a realtor anymore.
Yes.
So apparently the people in Arizona don't feel there's any value
to the name realtor.
Right, and maybe as a result of the settlement and people's perception of how it was handled, have probably driven a lot of people to that camp. That they don't see the value of it. Plus the fact that I'm not even sure the public even understands the difference between a licensee and a realtor.
Right.
Nor do I think they care. I don't see when you talk about companies advertising the public, you don't see the association really branding it to the public very effectively in any form or fashion. There's no reason to believe that for a person off the street that they understand the difference between a realtor and somebody who has a license.
Right.
So if everybody at my company just decided we don't want to use the brand realtor, right? What's that going to change? I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
So I would say it doesn't look good for the association. The problem with that is that the association does provide resources that small independent entities can't. For instance, the lobbying in Washington, political action in certain areas, it can be more coordinated through an association like that with the resources they have. Education forms. Yeah. So but look at the forms have started to deteriorate too.
Well, you guys got your own listing agreements now, don't you?
No, we do not.
Oh, you don't?
No.
A lot of companies are doing their own listing agreements.
I think it's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think we all used to have our own purchase agreements.
Yep.
I was going to call it deposit receipt.
Yeah, right.
I have to stay away from that.
Yeah.
And our own listing agreements. And every time a multiple offer came in, I'd have to sit there as a manager and have to know the nuances in each company's agreement because there's always something.
That's true.
Some edge that they'd slide in there, something.
Yes.
So I think when we went in California, when we went to uniform forms like we have through CIR, I think it made business much better, much more professional, and much easier.
Easier,
to do.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I'm wondering if we should be looking for easier to do.
I don't think there's ever. I don't think easier is in anybody's vocabulary anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like the big struggle for the industry is to look more valuable. And the more, But I don't know. I just know this. I know that I was an active participant like you for years in the association, and I can't help but bring it up because,
it's discouraging.
I was a believer, and I still believe that they did so much good for the industry, and we've just gotten to the point to where the leadership is so bad and so lacking in foresight and innovation and leadership. It makes my skin crawl. And after watching, this as example, one of the articles I read again today said that it looks like that the commissions on the buyer side have come down so far 0.68%. And the guy who sent me the article, I emailed back and I says, well, let me ask you a question. Here's a third grade math question for you. How many houses sold with 0.6% commission less does it take until you've lost commission more than or equal to the settlement amount? It's costing the industry a fortune.
Yeah.
In this bad leadership.
I think. There's a couple things you hit on there. I think that the industry became incestuous. And people, I think, stopped participating in it at some level because they got frustrated with it. So I think, like our politics, you wonder why we can't, why it seems like there's not as many good people used to run. Not a political statement on any party, but
right.
Really feel like we lack talent out there politically.
Yep.
And I think the real talent that's out there within the association is not either being groomed or for it. I think it feels like it's a very, it's almost like you're handed down. It's
right.
Like the positions are handed down to the friends.
Right.
It's not.
I look at
not
people,
an earned thing.
Yeah, people like you
that's
with
unfair,
with all the experience that you can bring into any discussion, and they should pay you to come in and do this.
Well, I was on the insurance commission for 10 years, and I wanted to get more involved, but I couldn't break through. I wasn't part of the group.
That's my point.
I was in the regional
thing
for a while.
That you would have to fight, or that I would have to go in and campaign for some position on a committee.
Maybe I didn't campaign hard enough.
Yeah. That you should have to do that at all, though.
But it's definitely different than when I first got in the business.
Yeah.
And I think that starts at the local boards, because the local boards would be generating that talent that would go up.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the local boards at least have the same validity that they used to.
Right.
They don't. They're not the. They used to be the glue between the companies, where they'd bring companies together and stuff, and they really don't have that for whatever reason. At least here locally, I'm sure there's places around the country that have fantastic boards that way.
Maybe.
That they're still a key part of the brokerage community.
Yeah.
Ours just doesn't feel like it's a key part, other than we have to pay our dues.
So let's end this with
something positive.
Something positive. Can't think of anything about those guys that are positive, so we'll do something different. Let's jump over to a last word or message to salespeople as they're looking at their careers today and the advice. I still think, and I think you do too, that it's still one of the great business opportunities to be a salesperson in real estate.
Well, there's no business you can get into for less money.
Right.
And make a really good living.
Make a good living.
And actually be your own boss.
Right.
And not have to answer to anyone, and really be an entrepreneurial type of person.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's of anybody, man, woman, any kind of culture or race. I mean, it offers that affordability that opportunity to everybody.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah, I think so too. So, I said to someone recently, drive down Ventura Boulevard, which for those who may not be in Los Angeles here, it's.
I thought you were talking about me.
I'm not going to get into that right now, but drive down Ventura Boulevard, and pretty much, every business you drive by, you have an opportunity in this business to make more than any of them from an income standpoint.
Oh, no question.
Without the investment, without the lease assigned, without this, employees and so forth. And so it's really, really positive. But they need to do what to take advantage of it?
You need to treat it like a real job. and you have to be consistent in your actions every day.
Right.
And you should always write your goals down. You should always treat it, as I said, as a real job. You should be in the office, or you should be on the street at 9 a.m. and be out there and expect to work a full day. The agents that are doing that, the first year or two can be pretty hard, pretty brutal, money-wise, especially when you're dealing in this environment, because the lack of sales is hard in general. But I think if you can just hunker down and stay consistent, and even as an experienced agent, I think it's when I sit down with business meetings with my agents, the thing I find the most glaring, even for the successful ones, is that they just are not as consistent at their actions, whether it's sending out something to their sphere of influence once a month, or there's a lack of consistency.
Right. Got a little lazy.
I hate to use that word.
I know, but I
don't know if it's lazy. I think it's because you don't have it's not a real job.
Right.
So your performance is really you're the one that judge it. Now you may not be able to associate with me if you're not making money.
Right.
But you are your own boss, and you have to, would you hire yourself if at that level of work?
Right.
So I think you have to look at it from that standpoint.
I think if I were an agent today, and I would be an obnoxious one for sure, but if I was an agent and I came to work at your company today, I would be lobbying you so strong to go back to that culture thing. I would say, I want you to put me around people that are successful. I want you, manager, to show me and make me feel what people that are successful do. And I want to see them. I want to be around them. I want them to be influential on me. And I want to do the same back to other people. And I want you to keep any negativity out of my life. That's how you could bring me great value as a salesperson. I don't know that salespeople think like that, but having been one and having tried to manage, I know I need, to your point, the board. I need some inspiration. I don't. Even the most independent people still can benefit by positive people around them, and
no question,
great coaching.
So it's funny. I really rarely hire new people now. It's such a high attrition rate, at least in my area, and we just don't really. We don't also provide any type of a training program for them. But that being said, the training programs out there that are still they're like 50 years old.
Right.
Mentor programs and all that stuff. But as a new person, I might, going back on what I said before, if you can get onto a team, at least on a short period of time, that might be an opportunity for you. I wouldn't expect you to do business around it. You might just have depending on the office.
Right.
If you're in an office where people are coming in every day and you can be around top performers, that's the best environment you could be in. Right. Being on a team might be okay, but I'm not sure you're going to learn really the whole business that way. You might get it depends on the team leader. Right. Or the principal. Whoever we call them. So I think it's really tough for a new licensee. Right now. Most everywhere. And I think it's going to get tougher.
Well,
but I think the business is going to be much better next year.
I do too.
We're going to thrive in 25.
Thrive in 25.
We've been saying stay alive till 25 since 22.
Thrive.
So it's thrive in 25. That's the watchword.
It sure feels that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I've got a busier holiday season than I've had in a while. Yeah,
people are telling me, a lot of the brokers that are some of our escrow customers and so forth are telling me that that all of a sudden they've had open houses the last couple of weeks and lots of people are showing up. And so who knows? I know the brokers are telling me, the owners of companies were telling me that they were having three problems. One was interest rates. One was the pending election. And thirdly was that they felt that some people were being paralyzed by the new contracts, the new buyer contract, and it was freezing them. And so the election's out of the way. People should be getting more comfortable with these contracts.
Well, you remember the contracts, comfortable with contracts is just the agent has to be comfortable with contracts.
Exactly.
So
that's what they were saying.
I have found a tremendous lack of, going back to consistency amongst my competitors about the training levels that they gave their agents going in with those forms.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Big firms. I mean, it just didn't spend enough time.
Right.
With their agents.
Right.
So I think the agents came out of that unsure of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would slow sales.
Slow them down, yeah. Well, that was what I kept hearing consistently across the board. Of course, inventory, but that is picking up just a little bit. But anyway, I agree that 25 is going to be great. I really appreciate you.
I enjoyed this.
Driving an hour and a half and being part of this. And,
thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I wish you luck in 2025. And
thanks.
Let's go have some fun.
Okay, it's a deal.
Sir, let's do it.